In this video I'm going to show you how to upgrade your 2007 Toyota Orion's front brakes to go from looking like this to this. I'm going to tell you all the parts you're going to need. I'm going to tell you the size of the upgrades. I'm also going to show you exactly how to do it, so stick around. So here are the parts. So as you can see, I've got the old stuff on the right side and I've got the new stuff on the left side. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be discarding this and upgrading to this. As you can see straight away from that caliper there, it is a single piston and this is a twin piston and a much bigger caliper in that. Also, this rotor is a 296mm rotor that's originally on the vehicle, and this rotor is close to a 330mm, so it is a massive upgrade. Believe it or not, this is actually an extremely straightforward job if you have some basic hand tools, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it, what you're going to need from start to finish. No BS, let's get straight into it. I'm going to insert the part numbers to this thing here, to these brake pads here, and to this caliper here. Yes, I recommend upgrading to braided brake lines, but just to save you digging around and looking, no, you do not need braided brake lines. The standard rubber lines will work. I've tested it lock to lock. There is no tension on anything, so that will work perfectly fine. I might add this vehicle has coilovers, so if yours has standard, perhaps it's different, although it should not be. Alright, so what you're going to want to do is you want to chuck an oil pan underneath, because we're going to be disconnecting this brake line. When we disconnect this brake line, some of the brake fluid will fall out. While we do this, an easy way to stop the brake fluid falling out is to grab one of these pliers that pinch the brake line, set it like this so we minimize air going back into the system. That makes life super easy. From there's two options what you want to do. The other side, this whole caliper was seized, so I couldn't just take these two bolts out and remove it as one unit. I will demonstrate how to do that. So you just take these two 17mm bolts out, and then if you can remove it, that makes life much easier. Now, for the sake of if you run into any trouble with, example, the other side caliper was seized, I'm going to go through the long process of doing it to save any issues that any of you may have. But if you want to make this quick and you don't want to muck around too much, you can just disconnect this 70mm bolt here from here and remove the whole caliper, and then you're good to go. But I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to take these two off. So we're going to remove these two 12mm bolts. Sometimes these will spin, so just use some pliers to hold it from spinning. From there, pull the caliper towards you. This one is seized, it feels like, as well. So just lever it off. We're getting rid of this stuff so we don't have to be too gentle with it. Now that he's off, put him to the side there. From there, remove these two 17mm bolts. Remove that. From there, this rotor may be stuck on. If it doesn't come off with a hammer, use a bolt and put the bolt into these holes and it will push it out. But we don't need to do that. So we're going to remove this 14mm bolt holding brake line onto the caliper. This has a bit of grease on it because we have a split CV boot. Now, when you remove the caliper, these copper washers to the side, we might need them again if the other ones don't seal. Now that we've disconnected it, remove the banjo bolt and the old copper washer. Do not get rid of the banjo bolt, keep it in a vicinity. From here, take this like that. If you tip it, all the fluid's going to come out. So if you're not prepared for that, make sure to not tip it over. I'm just going to clean up this brake line real quick. You want the surface where the new copper washers are going to go to sit really well. Clean this hub. All a good clean. Just for this purpose, if you're in a rusty area, chuck on some NCCs. Before installing the rotor, spray it down with some brake clean and wipe it with a clean rag. This just ensures it gets any contaminants off it. From there, chuck a lug nut. This will help the installation process without things moving around too much. Clean as you go. A real quick note, these are actually directional. So this is the front driver's side. Easiest way to tell is these kind of indentations will be facing down in that kind of motion. So don't mess it up, they are directional. It's pretty straightforward from here. We're just going to reinstall the new brake, or I should say we are going to install the new brake caliper. Take your new copper washer and the banjo bolt. Make sure the banjo bolt is clean. You can. Now remember, this is a cast brake caliper, like many, but what I mean is it is an alloy, so do not strip the thread when tightening it down. You tighten it down till it bites. Now see that? It's nice and hard. Now what I'm going to do is just a quarter more. 1, 2, 3, bang. That's it, done. If it leaks, tighten it down more. Very simple. Okay, from there we can disconnect this guy. I'll put this caliper up there out of the way. Don't need to worry about that guy. You get a bunch of clips and whatnot in the kit. So what you're going to want to do is install these shims to this brake caliper mounting bracket. On a side note, it probably would have been easier to install the shims if you did this off the car, but it doesn't really matter. But you know the drill, a little bit of grease here, a little bit of grease here. That's on, moves nice and free. Yeah, alright. So with that on, what you're going to want to do is you want to chuck the pins. These open up the pads when they're not engaging the rotor, which is actually really good and helps longevity on the pads. So you got to just play around with it a bit when you're going to reinstall the caliper. So chuck a bit of grease on your finger and chuck a little bit on the ears, I call them, of the caliper, and on the seal here. This just helps any sticking or any issues in the future. From there, bang, I'm going to throw this guy on. We're going to chuck the top bolt in, bottom bolt in. Also, to make a point, again, this is the front driver's side, this is the front driver's side. Do not put the caliper upside down with this bleed nipple on the bottom, because that is installed incorrectly and you will not be able to bleed it properly. This here you don't have to adjust because this is fixed to the strut and to the caliper, so it's all good. As long as this one moves, we're good to go. So I'm going to clean everything up now, and what I'm going to do is you have to bleed the brakes now. So we'll bleed the brakes. Alright, from here you're going to have to bleed the system. What you're going to want to do is pump the brake pedal a heap of times. Make sure your reservoir does not go low. Keep topping it up. Keep it at least above the max line, and then when it stops to drop, then you can actually bleed the system by cracking the brake calipers. As you can see, I have a pressure bleeder because I do this all the time. So what you're going to want to do is either get one of these, or you're going to want to have a friend in the car, push the pedal on, crack the nipple, let it off, etc. till you get a firm pedal feel. So I'm going to do that now. Alright, I'm going to finish bleeding this side here, and from there we'll take it for a spin and see how she feels. Might have to do this a few times because, you know, or even have the car running, but so far so good. Alright, so I've just finished bleeding this side, so we're good to go. We're going to go on a test drive. Remember, these have a geomat finish. They're painted. They will make some sound when you start to drive. Bed everything in, and from there you should feel quite a big difference. So there you have it. That's how you do it. It's all done. I've got good pedal feel. Take it for a spin. Make sure nothing's fouling on anything in terms of the brake pad, alignment clips, this kind of stuff. And take your time bleeding it. It should be very straightforward, but just be prepared. You are going to need a bit of fluid. So other than that, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing and all the rest of that good stuff. Thank you so much.